7.
I'll fix that.
Uh-oh.
Be there about 6:30.
That sounded good.
What the hell? Talk about tonight. Let's go here. It's dead.
Thank you.
Council workshop meeting, April 7th, 2025, 6 p.m. Bear,
You bet.
Briggs,
Here.
Coulter,
Here.
Hydrich,
Here.
Holtmeyer,
Yeah.
Heckey,
Here.
Reed,
You bet.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated March 3rd, 2025? Bear,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Coulter,
Yes.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Heckey,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye. Motion, please.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Barrow, second by Coulter to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Report of department heads, Administration Department, IT, and VoIP Services Agreement. You want me to take it?
Yep.
Good evening, council. In front of you is an ordinance and a contract for you to approve for the city's IT and voice over services. We evaluated 5 proposals that came in. We developed an IT committee, which consisted of 2 council members, which was Councilmember Bear and Councilmember Briggs, along with the mayor, Darren, myself, Tim, Jim, Nelson, Tammy, and Kevin. And so we went out for RFPs in January, and we received 5 proposals. After consideration and on-site interviews and presentations, we decided that it was a good idea to go with NOC for additional 3 years. And NOC, John Lauber is here if you have any questions.
Could you tell us what this amounted to last year? How do the services compare in terms of cost?
Right now, we're paying $36,000, I believe, give or take. And then with this one, we would be doing $28,000.
We're going back with NOC.
Yes.
Correct.
We're going with NOC for 3 years.
Okay. Wonderful.
And was there any, a bid from the other ones also, or just?
Yeah,
a-
we had proposals from all these
We had
firms.
proposals from all
So we don't
5.
have those listed in here, though, right?
Yeah, they're in there. Well, not the proposals itself, but we received proposal from AQM, Essential Network Technologies / Technology, GFI Digital, and NOC Technology.
I guess my question was, is NOC the lowest bid? Or was
No,
it the
they were
lowest?
not the lowest bid. But
Okay.
after looking at all of the proposals and comparing apples to apples, there were 2 of them that we were deciding from. And the other one that we were gonna go with, we looked at, basically, they had additional costs that the city were going to have to accrue.
We were
Or
anticipating,
we
yeah.
weren't gonna have to accrue that cost with NOC.
NOC had an all-in cost, whereas the other bidder, after looking at it, or the other proposal had a lot of costs that basically it was a per, I don't know, per, how you want to put it, it would be on a per occasion or whatever cost, and we started looking back at what did we do in the past year with regards to the number of calls during regular working
On-site.
hours, on-site, after hours, those things, and after looking at those, NOC was the lower proposal then, because it was all in, and it
It was all bundled together.
Correct.
Where the other vendor that we were looking at, we were gonna have to pay additional costs for on-site visits.
Gotcha, okay.
Who was the other vendor who was like second place?
It was / technology is the one.
Say it again.
/ technology.
What, we actually interviewed 3.
Yes, and we interviewed a third one as well.
Right.
Based on what the committee, based on our scores and how we looked at them, we had 3 of them that we wanted to interview.
It's not often we see a drop like that. What caused that?
You wanna,
John Lober's here. Come on up, John.
I'm just curious, we usually we're looking at some ridiculous increase, you know, on these.
Usually that is the case, right? So the city went with a proposal to do a per user cost versus a per device cost. And we went and did our assessments on which way we would go. And we came up with a solution that was, if the city was fully staffed, it would put you back at this price, and the city is not currently fully staffed. So that is where that reduction comes in. So if you come back and have an additional 30 people or 40 people, whatever then it would end up being at the same price.
All right. Thank you.
I think we have a lot of accounts in the fire department as well that we had to take into account.
I think we have like 79 accounts, I believe.
I never did.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, John, we always had an option. If we had an issue with our iPad, we could walk in the front door or walk in the door at your place, but that's no longer available. Is that right?
That's incorrect.
Okay.
You cannot walk in without a call ahead. The doors are now locked. That's the only difference.
Okay.
So you've got to give us warning, and we'll have somebody meet whoever needs to be there. You can pull in, but that, you're going to ring a doorbell and you're going to wait and that sort of thing. So if you give us that advanced 20-minute notice, you can walk in the door.
Okay. Those guys have been helpful in the past when I've got either iPads. That's the only reason I go is just with this iPad, but it's froze or
Will
whatever,
be
and those guys
still
have been good
available,
help, but.
just give us the heads up so that we have a resource available, because everything we do now is scheduled out.
Okay.
And so making sure that somebody does, we have that resource available, but it's a lot easier if you give us that notice.
Good do.
Yeah, I just had that problem with my iPad, and like I said, you called and then came up and took care of it, so appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Further
Thanks.
questions or discussions, guys?
Motion to send it on.
Motion by Holtmeyer. Second by Briggs. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None on the council.
Emergency Management Department, temporary site license agreement, Cell on Wheels.
Good evening, council. This is a repeat of last year around the same time. This is the leasing agreement that brings back the temporary cell site for the fair every year.
They need approval for us just to do this each year. We have to give them
it's a
the
separate
property.
contract each year.
Gotcha.
Questions?
We send it on if you
Yeah,
guys
second.
don't want to talk about it.
Okay, motion by Bear, second by Patke. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Engineering Department, Fox Crest Extension Project, inspection and testing proposal.
Good evening, council. This is a material testing contract with Cochrane for the Fox Crest. This is the bridge / now culvert project, and also the roadway that's part of the development agreement. So before we had a testing and inspection contract with Cochrane just for the bridge. Now it's a full testing for both projects together, just to lump them together. And that's, per test it's needed, so that's an at most cost there. It'll probably be less than that as well.
No questions or
The motion to
discussion?
move.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Briggs to send it on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Parks Department, Old Pool House renovation proposal.
Evening, council. In your packet tonight is a design contract for the renovation of the old pool bathhouse out at Main Park. If you recall, when we built the new pool, that building was not, it was intended to be used, but was not, in the end, was not used by the contractor and has been sitting vacant since then. During the pool construction phase, we were able to get electric ran to the building for future use. So that infrastructure is in place now, and we do have electric there now. In the meantime, money was budgeted in the capital improvement sales tax for renovation. We have half of it in this budget year, and I think half in next budget year. Let's see. During the master plan process, KAI, which was a sub for the for PDS sub-architect, they were asked to look at this building and come up with a design to make use of the building for our offices. And so they came up with a design. Staff and I worked with them on it, and we have a design of the main floor to be used as park offices. That'll include like waiting area when you walk in, a conference room, offices, lunchroom / break room, storage. The basement of the building right now with this project mainly won't be used. There'll be a few improvements down there. We're trying to get the HVAC and mechanical and some storage down there, like record file storage down there. It will be conditioned. The back half of that space, so the eastern side of the building, would be for park storage. In the future, we may renovate the women's and men's restrooms. Right now, the women's shower area is being used by the swim team as kind of their storage place, and they kind of operate out of there during their swim meets. It's also being used by our lifeguard company for custodial storage. And then the men's shower area could be, it's just an idea that's been thrown out, like an additional party room for birthday parties or any kind of party you want to have at the pool, where you might have a door, like a garage door that you roll up and down, and you'd have a birthday party in there. What we do want to do is there's 2 double doors on the back side of that pool, right in the center of the building. Right now, it's a storage closet. And we want to widen that out and then be able to get like a piece of equipment, like a fork truck or whatever in there, so we can haul stuff in, like our pool chairs and all that stuff that we use at the pool that sits under the awning right now, or the pavilion by the concession stand. Try to get some of that stuff in, and then we just don't have much storage in parks, so we'd be able to use that basement for future storage of park stuff. And it would be conditioned because we intend to have a lot of our paper files and things like that we have to have paper still down there, and we don't want it moldy and mildewy. So part of the construction design would be to design like lowering some of the windows. All the windows in that building are really tall from when it was actually used as a bathhouse, so you couldn't see people in there. So lowering some of the windows, like in the office areas, so you could see out, so the rec coordinator could see what's going on with day camp or at the pool, things like that. And then installation of a HVAC system, because right now there is none. And then it will need new windows and doors. We have some windows that are actually currently kind of falling out of the building, and we've had to stabilize those just recently. I guess, so what I'm presenting to you tonight is just a design contract. The building committee has looked at these contracts. We received several contracts and decided to go with Horn Architects. They were the top scorer amongst the building maintenance committee. And I think they'll do a good job. I know Steve is familiar with that building from when the pool was being built, because he was the subcontractor for the pool builder there. And like I said, we used that building. They did look at that, using that building as part of the mechanical room for the new pool, but it didn't work out. So, questions?
Wayne, who's all on that committee?
Let's see, Mike Coulter, Jeff Packey, Tim Frankenberg, myself, Darren, the mayor,
Chad
Owens. Did I forget anyone?
I think that's it.
Everyone.
And is that the extent that we're gonna use KAI on anything for that project?
Yes, yeah, they, I didn't know, you know, I reached out to them and said, hey, we're putting out an RFQ, and they said they're a very large firm, and that was pretty small. for
Well,
them.
that's a good thing, because I'm not impressed with them. A lot of wasteful money they do. Terrible outfit.
Further questions or discussions, guys?
Make a motion, moving on.
Work around them.
Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by Patke to move it on. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Park facilities user fees code amendment.
Yes, so I've been working on this for a while. We've had a number of, Park Board has recommended a number of new user fees, but also back in 2019, when I first started, so 6+ years ago, we had a committee and we reviewed all our user fees, and we raised a lot of our deposit fees. We raised a lot of fees, but we also raised a lot of deposit fees. And what we found out over the years, last few years, is that we kind of priced ourselves out. If you have to pay the fee for the facility plus the deposit, it's a lot of money up front out of your pocket. And so one thing I remember us trying to do is we were trying to make deposits like uniform for every facility that we had. So like $500 for everything, almost everything, it seemed like. And so in here in your packet, you'll see a redline version. Most of those redlined items are the lowering of deposits in our facilities. Now, I did mention were some new fees that Park Board came forward with, and those include when we added the new playground down at the riverfront, there's a pavilion right next to the playground that we think we have requests for, and we think will be popular to rent. So that's a new fee that was not in there. Motorsports only fee is in there. A fee for marking electric and utility lines in the fairgrounds, which we did not have before. Pickleball courts fee, when we added the pickleball courts at the fairgrounds. We don't have a ton of requests for that, but we do have one coming up this summer, I think, for a tournament. And then a disc golf tournament fee. We did not have that in the past either, and I ran into a situation last fall with a request for that. So, questions?
I'm glad we're finally there.
Yes, it's, I submitted this a couple months ago, but I didn't know, there's a certain format that Mark wanted me to use, and I did not know that, and so we had to reformat everything, and plus we cleaned some things up. We kind of put things in order, like there was like a fairgrounds fee over here and something else associated with the fairgrounds over here, and so we tried to group them together so it's easier to find things too in there.
Further discussion?
What do you think the percentage is of anybody renting the pavilions around Lions Lake?
You mean
mean
how much are they
percentage?
used? Is that?
No, I know they're used quite a bit. I want to know what's the percentage of people actually renting them?
Oh.
You know, because if they're not rented, they can be used. Shortly after I got on the council, I proposed putting a fee on the pavilions at $25. At that time, that was supposed to go towards, at that time, a different administration told me, yeah, that can go in a separate pot put electric in all of them, put new roofs on them, yada, yada, yada. Well, 3-4 years later, I said, hey, how much money we got in that pot? And I go, what are you talking about? And I said, well, that's why it was started. So, fast forward, then it went to 50, and now it looks like we're up to 75. I'm just curious how many people are actually requesting to rent them any more than just somebody just coming in and.
Oh, people know, because they're so popular, people know if they want to have them, if they want to make sure they make sure they have them, they have to rent them. And so I can get you those numbers, like if you want a yearly number.
just
I don't know off
kinda
the top of
curious
my
just off the
head.
top of your head.
I know they're very popular. They're rented almost, all three of them are rented almost, maybe not all three of them every weekend, but the majority, so 2 out of 3 are rented most weekends during, the height of the spring and summer. they're popular.
I think Casey had a report, you had the numbers.
Yeah,
on
we
that.
ran
You
them
can-
different
You
reports
can email
over
that to
time,
him.
yeah.
I was just curious, because originally too, you didn't grow up around here, but when we
Right, they
were
were-
100 years ago, when I was little, you had to get out there at 3 o'clock in the morning to reserve it, you know, so it's like, so I'm just kind of curious how many people are actually reserving them.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, from what I've seen, and like you said, didn't grow up around here, but I've been around a lot of municipalities in St. Louis, and these are still very affordable. For what you get and how nice they are, it's a very affordable price still.
Who does all your scheduling? Is that your office?
Yes. Yeah, we have a software system we can put it in. And we have a permitting process too. That was something else we didn't have until last year. We had an intern work on that. Because we, in the past, we were just telling people, oh, just bring your receipt out there. You know, that way if anyone questions, you have a receipt. Well, sometimes the main person that's having the party is not the person that may have rented it. It might be grandma or someone that lives here in town or whatever. And there was a lot of confusion. People couldn't find their receipts, this and that. And so now we have a permit holder on each pavilion, and there's a card when it's rented. Your name goes on it and says you got it from this, you know, at this date, from this time. And it's very obvious now. And so that seems to have helped a lot.
Further questions or discussion? Take a
Motion to move to
motion.
council.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Bear. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's sent. Go ahead, Sharon.
Riverfront restroom addition and renovation contract.
All right, I'll kind of read through this one. This one's a little bit longer and kind of involved just because it's taken us a long time to get there. So in '23, we applied for an RTP grant, which stands for Recreational Trails Program grant. It's a grant that's managed by DNR. It's a federal grant. And we were awarded that grant. It was the second time we applied, so we got it on the second time, $250,000. And we have until October 31st of 2026 to use it. And so we've been going through this process. We've done the environmental, you know, this was for the connection, the east-west connection down there on the riverfront. You've heard me talk about it many times. We had a public meeting about it. The public came. We're finally to the point where we're gonna move some dirt and construct some stuff. So last year during the budgeting process, estimates were coming in a little bit higher than what we were hoping, and I realized that we probably needed to divide the project into two. So we divided it into the restroom portion of the project, which we were hoping would have started earlier by now, and then the actual trail connection part of it, which is phase 2, that will hopefully begin later this year. We were hoping the restroom would get constructed over the winter, and with all the notice to proceed you have to get, I was not, we just didn't meet that headline, but, or that deadline. We're underway now. We did get the notice to proceed, so we bid it out in February. We had 5 bidders, and I have if you guys need them, I have it, but the 5 bidders were A. Eilers Construction, SCE Inc., so Cowboys Company, CB Contractors, SK Contractors, and finally Franklin County Construction. So the project consists of renovating that bathroom. The bathroom down there, when I started, was something Darren and I had talked about, redoing that bathroom, not building a new one, but doing some kind of renovation to make it a little more modern looking inside and out. Inside is really pretty primitive. But we could never figure it out. And then when this grant, I started looking into this grant more, and part of their big thing is ADA, and we were able to work the restroom into the grant with the trail connection and the ADA access. So the renovation portion of it will add 2 what you consider year-round restrooms. There'll be heated restrooms, family change restrooms that will be open year-round. And then so that'll be addition on the west side of that, so between the current restroom and the waterworks building. And then we'll do upgrades to the rest of the building, such as exterior water fountains, a storage area in back, which is much needed for different events down there. There's no storage for trash cans or anything that we need, that other people use down there. The actual building itself will get hardy board and trim, additional urinal in the men's, because we reconfigured some of those things. An additional sink in the women's, new metal doors, insulation, flood hood, or flood vents, and other minor improvements, painting, things like that. And so this project could go on down there, and we can keep restrooms open this summer while this project goes on. So we won't have to shut down all the restrooms for Sunset on the Riverfront and things like that. We may have to get, as we get closer, depending on how many stalls and things we have open, we may have to get a couple additional portable restrooms if we need it, if we have a big event down there. But we'll kind of, as we get closer, we'll know a little more about that.
So we're building a new one and remodeling the old one. Is that what I got?
No,
No.
just remodel, we're adding on to the old one
Okay.
and remodeling the old one at the same time.
Okay.
Did Frank County Construction do any other construction around town that you know of, or
They did the freight building for us a couple years
Yeah.
ago.
what?
Freight Depot.
Freight Depot.
They did that contract.
Okay. Sounds good.
Further questions or discussions, guys? Take a motion.
Motion to move to council.
Second.
Motion by Packey, second by Holtmeyer to move it on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's moving on.
Senior Center update?
Yes, so Darren asked me to give council an update tonight on what's been going on behind the scenes at the senior center. I got some bulleted points here. They may jump around a little bit. And I guess the moving date right now, Darren and I met with Aging Ahead on Thursday last week, I guess it was. The week of May 5th, they're planning on moving from the Elks to the Knights of Columbus Hall. That doesn't mean they'll be open May 5th, that just means they're moving. So Aging Ahead will move all their items that they own. They do own some stuff in the kitchen. And then the city will move some items we don't own. A lot of the stuff we own is more stationary stuff in that, in the kitchen area. But we will be moving, even though the KC Hall has tables and chairs, Aging Ahead would like to use our tables and chairs, so we're moving tables, chairs, steamer, ice machine. Outside, there's a couple picnic tables and a bench, or a couple benches we're moving. I'm sure there'll be other stuff too. Those are the bigger ones off the top of my head. Like I said, Aging Ahead will move some of their items. And let's see, right now, as far as what's going on at the new place at the Knights of Columbus, the entryway / vestibule area has been renovated. The walk outside, or where you enter that vestibule, there was a little like sidewalk you had to step up. It was maybe 4 inches tall. That's been paved, so there's not a grade there, so it's ADA accessible now. They're currently working on the restroom renovations. They have everything ripped out, and the walls have been upgraded with that almost like garage paint stuff you use in your garage, the flake stuff, like so far up on the wall, which is really nice, so they can kind of spray them down if there's a mess. And they put new lighting in the bathrooms. Let's see. Tim Egan, who's running the renovation for the Knights, said they'll be complete by Monday, April 14th, and they're going to do depending on weather, asphalt ceiling, striping, the week of April 28th. And then I know there has been a request. We're not to that point yet. The Elks have requested or have reached out to the city, my department, about purchasing items that the city may not be using after the move. So I don't know what that is yet. I'm sure we will have some stuff, but we're not to that point yet. Questions?
Okay. Thank you, Wayne.
Make a motion, moving on.
No, it was just for discussion.
Discussion. What we discussed.
You discussed.
Disgusted.
We discussed.
Send it.
Want me to move right into executive?
Unless there's any other questions of department heads that you've got?
Any department heads would like to come up and address the council?
Good evening, council. Hey, just wanted to give you guys a heads up on Saturday morning, we did identify that the St. Johns Creek had come out of its banks over behind Hellebush and came over and filled the fire training area. On or around 4 o'clock, it started to come over Westlink Drive. At that point, we got some equipment out of the recycle center, and we ended up not opening the recycle center Saturday. They had about 3 feet of water on the road going in. So we closed off Westlink for a while, and I think it was on or around 4 o'clock or so, we were able to open the road back up, locked up the recycle center, but they were closed on Saturday, so everything's back to normal now.
Tony, did you have, I've seen Ballman down there with an excavator. I don't, did they have to move some shit away from that bridge or not?
Where were they at?
Well, I seen Ballman on Main Street at the same time that was closed. I thought maybe they had to do something, maybe not?
Not unless they were doing something
Okay.
down on their property.
I just seen them loading an excavator. Okay.
Yeah, not for us.
That was for a residence.
For what?
It was for a residence job.
Oh, okay.
I'll say Sherry did text us that or emailed that out, that we, you know, things were closed, and that's nice to get that information whenever it happens. I mean, I don't get any phone calls that it was closed or why was it, but it's nice to be updated, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
The only-
The recycle center, not the landfill.
Yes, correct.
Right. Windy days on the landfill, it is still, we got those updates too, so that's good.
Did we lose anything at the recycle place?
The water
Everything
never
okay?
made it into the recycle center.
High lift okay?
We actually drove the high lift out Saturday morning about 4:30 and parked it up on West Main.
Well, that was a loader.
Well, I call that a high lift,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The wheel loader we did.
Right.
No, the high lift, the forklift, and the skid steer all stayed down there. We take the wheel loader out. That way, if it's gonna be long-term and we do need the wheel loader somewhere else, then we
Yep.
have it and it's not stuck in there.
Good idea.
All right, thank you.
The only other thing I seen in regards to that was that the riverfront on Friday night, when things were coming up, we got logs floating down the river as bad as you can get, and a van putting a boat in the river. And I just said to him,
Fish are biting when the river's coming up, Jeff.
we just don't need to have that. And then it wasn't an hour later and it was a water rescue. Not for that, but for something else. And, and it's just like, we cannot put our fire department guys in that kind of jeopardy that we're gonna go out there and rescue these people who put their boats in the river at that time. That's crazy to me. Now, I don't know what our criteria, we talked about this the last time the river was up, but the criteria is whenever that lower parking lot gets flooded, we put barricades up.
Right.
So then at that time, we just block off everybody from putting in the river unless someone's trying to get their boat out from the boat club that they, haven't gotten out. But I guess we were close to that, but I wanted to step out like, what are you doing? But
We weren't close to the flood stage as far
Right.
as the lower parking lot. It's just probably pretty treacherous out there, but.
yeah,
Well, I wanted to thank Tony and Charles both. I was getting calls that evening with muddy waters flowing through people's places when all that was going on, and they came out and made sure the sewers and everything were flowing as best they could anyway. There was just a lot at one time.
I say sometimes the pipes are full, they're full. That's all they can do. They just can't go any further. So.
Yeah, I was out there at the same time Tony was out there and trying to get that unflooded out there.
Yeah, yep. The silt guards, so.
right. Thanks,
All
Tony.
Got out there and help your neighbors.
By the
Kevin,
time
you
I
wanna
got
come
there,
up?
You guys had it done by the time I got there.
Get your waders on and go down there.
First, I'll give you guys an update on Front Street. We started back on it again this morning and running this wonderful joys we're finding underground on Front Street, but we'll keep on going on that. Storm event was pretty rough on us. We manned it from Friday afternoon all the way till Saturday afternoon, rotating shifts. We took in an additional 7 million gallons of liquid during that event on top of our normal flow, so we moved 9 million gallons of water through that period of time.
Okay, say that again. Normal is 2 million gallons at that time, and you had 9, so it was 7 million gallons of infiltration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had manhole did leak a little bit down on Front Street, not as bad as it normally does, but we maintained. The pump ran steady. Our big pump ran 2,800 gallons a minute until Saturday afternoon where it started dropping down. But to give you a heads up, if anybody had any problems, we did everything we could. We had manholes backing up on Stafford, everywhere. But anyway, So if anybody had any complaints or anything, get them to me. We're addressing them as they come in. We've had a couple so far. So if anybody's got anything, just let me know. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Did you see the water?
Had a lot of water.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else? Any other department heads? Okay?
Executive session, public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, or real estate matters pursuant to section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Bear?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Packey?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
We are in executive session, folks.
You know, I'm really worried about the lake. I know, it can fill up the sill, you know, that's down in Concord. I was more worried about some of those people.
They had those big socks over the.
Good. And Brian Bogue.
7 inches, a lot of
It was
water.
heading in his house.
Yeah, it was bad out there.
Much over
I called Tony, and Tony said, I'm on my way there now. We met. I just got into town, and I had like people that know my cell phone, because I don't get my cell phone number out, were calling me in there going, you better get something done now. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do?
What are you gonna do? But hear from Bob Dodd, you know, it's.